Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to NFL Nexus, your spot for the absolute deepest draft analysis you're going to find anywhere. Today, we are diving into a really fascinating question. How does a team that just hoisted the Lombardi Trophy actually get better? We're putting the Seattle Seahawks 2026 draft class under the microscope, a group of guys who aren't just here to keep the good times rolling, but to build a potential dynasty. This isn't about finding one savior, nope, it's about finding those perfect final pieces for a championship puzzle. We're going to grade every single pick, break down the front office strategy, and try to answer that big question. How do you draft when you're already on top of the mountain? So, if you're like me and you geek out on the nitty-gritty of football, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you are not going to want to miss this. Okay, so here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to try to get inside the war room and figure out a champion's strategy. Then, we'll get to the big names, the premium picks from the first 2 days who are expected to make a splash right away. After that, we're going on a day 3 value hunt, because let's be honest, that's where championships are really solidified. We'll also shine a spotlight on some instant impact players who might just surprise everybody this season. And then we'll wrap it all up with the final verdict, our official report card for this Seahawks class. Let's get into it.
All right, so first up, you've got to understand the mindset here. Context is absolutely everything. The Seahawks didn't stumble into this draft with a top 5 pick and a laundry list of problems. They walked in as the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions, holding the very last pick of the first round, number 32. And that changes the entire game. When you're picking that late, you're not looking for a guy to come in and save the franchise. You're looking for specialists. You're looking for role players. You're looking for guys who can fill the tiny little cracks in what is already a championship caliber machine. So this draft wasn't about a big overhaul. It was about fine-tuning. It was about making these precise, almost surgical additions to an already elite roster, knowing that 31 other teams are now aiming squarely at you. That's the unique pressure of drafting as a champ.
And this is such a key point, you really have to get this to understand their draft. The biggest picks they made for 2026, they actually made months, even years ago. General Manager John Schneider has always treated future draft picks like currency, and he's not afraid to cash them in to win right now. I mean, the perfect example is the trade for Rashid Shaheed last year. They sent what became a 3rd and a 5th round pick in this draft to get him. Now, some people would say that's mortgaging the future. But Shaheed's impact was immediate. His kick returns literally flipped the field in the playoffs, and his deep speed just blew the top off of defenses, opening everything up underneath. That's the trade-off. You give up draft capital, you get a proven game breaker, and, well, you get a Super Bowl ring. So because of those moves, this draft had to be about being smart, targeted, and incredibly efficient.
Okay, let's get to the fun stuff, the premium picks. Days 1 and 2, this is where even a team as good as the Seahawks needs to find guys who can make a difference. With only a few high-value picks, you can't afford a miss, not one. These are the players that the team and the fans expect to step right in and play a significant role, either as a starter or as a major part of the rotation. So let's break down their first 3 selections and see how they used their most valuable draft capital to start building their title defense.
So here we are, pick 32, the final pick of night 1. The confetti has just settled from the Super Bowl parade, and the Seahawks are on the clock. You heard all the chatter leading up to it. Maybe they'll trade back. Maybe they'll grab a lineman. But nope, they didn't get cute with it. They took a long, hard look at their roster, they found the single biggest, most obvious hole they had, and they basically ran to the podium to get their guy. They needed a running back, and they didn't mess around.
And that guy is Jadarian Price, the tough North and South runner from Notre Dame. We've got a B+ on this one, and look, let's be real. This pick was 100% pure, unadulterated need. When you make the tough decision to let a dynamic player like Kenneth Walker III walk in free agency, you leave a massive void. Then you factor in the injury history that's kind of followed Zach Charbonnet, and all of a sudden the Seahawks' running game, the very engine of their offense, was looking dangerously thin. Price isn't the highlight reel player that Walker was, but he's a dependable, between-the-tackles grinder who can take on a heavy workload. He was drafted to be the new workhorse, and the pressure is on him from day 1.
Okay, so let's talk about the big debate here, the reach factor. A lot of draftniks had Price pegged as a 2nd, maybe even an early 3rd-round talent. So on paper, grabbing him at 32 does look like a bit of a reach. But you have to consider the context. This was a historically weak running back class. I mean, after the top guy went early, there was a massive talent cliff, and Price was sitting all by himself as the clear number 2. It's like you're starving, right? And there were only 2 decent sandwiches left in the entire shop. You're not going to haggle over the price of that second sandwich, are you? No, you're going to grab it before someone else does. The Seahawks
desperately needed a running back, and if they waited until pick 64, they risked getting shut out completely. So did they overpay in pure draft value? Maybe a little. But was it the right move for their situation? No doubt about it.
So after what feels like an eternity, we're finally back on the clock at pick 64, the end of the second round. And man, this pick just screams Mike Macdonald. It's like they went into a lab and bioengineered a player specifically to thrive in his defensive scheme. You love to see it. This is the kind of pick that shows you the front office and the coaching staff are completely in sync, targeting not just good players, but the right players.
And that's why this is a straight-up A from us. It's just chef's kiss, the perfect intersection of value, need, and scheme. This is what a great draft pick looks like. A lot of people had Bud Clark as a potential late first-round guy, so to snag him at the very end of the second round is just fantastic value. But it's more than that. It's about what he represents for this defense. This is absolutely the right player for the right team at exactly the right time. Let's dig into why.
So you see that phrase up there, a Mike Macdonald player, and you're probably wondering, what the heck does that actually mean? Well, it boils down to one word: versatility. In today's NFL, with all the motion and crazy formations, you can't have defenders who only do one thing. Macdonald's whole system is built on creating doubt and confusion for the quarterback. He wants guys who can line up as a deep safety before the snap and then suddenly be covering a slot receiver after the snap. That's Bud Clark to a T. He's a true defensive chess piece. And on top of all that, the guy is a baller in big moments. Who could forget that massive pick six he had against Michigan in the college football playoff? He's smart, he's experienced, and he is the perfect guy to plug into their evolving secondary. Just an absolute home run pick.
So Seattle isn't done building up that defense. To wrap up a really impressive day two, they go right back to the secondary. And that tells you everything about their philosophy. In a league this pass-happy, you can never, ever have too many talented defensive backs. After getting their do-it-all safety, they shift their focus to the outside, looking for a guy who can bring some serious physicality to the cornerback position. I mean, when you have to face guys like Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb, you need a deep bench of tough corners. This pick was all about building that depth.
And with their comp pick at the end of the third, they grab Julian Neal, the corner from Arkansas, another B+ here. And you can see the pattern, right? They are drafting a type: physical, tough, scheme-specific players. Neal feels like he's straight out of a time machine from the Seahawks' glory days. He's big, he's long, and his primary goal on every play is to impose his will on you. He's an enforcer out on the island.
I mean, this guy is straight out of the Legion of Boom playbook. He wants to get his hands on you right at the line, jam you, reroute you, and completely throw off the timing of the offense. He is a press man corner through and through, and he loves coming downhill to make a tackle in the run game. Now, why isn't this an A? Well, it comes down to a classic draft day dilemma. Jermod McCoy from Tennessee, a more fluid athlete with maybe better ball skills, was still on the board. He was the higher ceiling player, but he also had some medical concerns. So you have a choice. Do you take the safer, high-floor guy who fits your culture perfectly in Neal, or do you swing for the fences on the riskier, more talented guy in McCoy? Seattle took the safe bet. It's a solid, smart decision, even if it wasn't the flashy one.
And boom. This quote right here says it all. I'm the most physical cornerback in the draft. That's not just talk. That's his entire identity. He is coming to Seattle with a mission statement. He knows exactly who he is as a player. He wants to be the bully. He wants to be the enforcer. He wants to be the guy that wide receivers see on the schedule and just dread lining up against. That kind of mindset, that self-awareness, you can't teach it, and coaches absolutely love it.
Okay, buckle up because now we're headed into day 3. This is where the real scouting happens. Rounds 4 through 7. This is where legends are born for teams like the Seahawks. I mean, just think about the names. Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Chris Carson, all guys found on day 3 who became absolute studs. The mission changes here. You're not really looking for polished starters anymore. You're looking for diamonds in the rough. You're hunting for athletes with 1 or 2 elite traits that your coaches think they can develop. You're building out your special teams, and you're creating a dogfight for those last few spots on the roster. This is where dynasties are sustained. Let's see what they found.
So here's the full haul from day 3. And yeah, it's kind of all over the place, which you expect late in the draft. You see that A- for Bo Stevens? That is a huge win in the 5th round. Just fantastic value. Then you've got some solid depth guys. Devin Eastern for the D-line, Andre Fuller at corner, both getting respectable B-range grades. But then you see that C next to Emmanuel Henderson Jr. and the C- from Michael Dansby, and you got to ask, what happened there? Especially that Henderson pick. That one was a real head-scratcher for a lot of people.
So this pick, Emmanuel Henderson, it's the one that just makes you tilt your head. I mean, look at this. On one hand, you have a wide receiver room that is absolutely stacked. You've got Metcalf, Smith-Njigba, and Lockett. You just paid good money to bring back Shaheed and Jake Bobo. Roster spots are limited. On the other hand, you have a glaring need at defensive end. You lost 2 key rotational pass rushers in free agency and did absolutely nothing in the draft to replace them. To use a 6th-round pick, a valuable asset, on a position of luxury when a critical need is just staring you in the face, it's a baffling move. It's the one pick in this entire draft where it really felt like they got a little too cute.
But hey, let's hit the pause button on the grades for a sec, because day 3 is all about potential, right? It's about finding guys who can do something special. So let's put the report card aside and spotlight 3 of these guys who have a legitimate shot to not just make the team, but to make an actual impact this season. These are the names you need to remember when training camp kicks off.
First up, and this might be my favorite pick of their entire draft, is offensive guard Bo Stevens. And the first clue that this guy is special, they traded up to get him. Teams just don't do that in the 5th round unless they are absolutely pounding the table for a player. Stevens was an All-American at Iowa, which is basically an NFL offensive line factory. He's not a mauler, but he is fundamentally sound, he's smart, and he's super consistent. And he's walking into a golden opportunity. The starting right guard spot was a total mess for Seattle last season. If Stevens can come in and win that job, if he can stabilize the interior of that line, this 1 5th-round pick could have a massive impact on the entire offense. He might just be the most important player they drafted.
All right, so let's play devil's advocate for a minute on that Henderson pick. We all question the why, but let's talk about the who. And the who is a lightning bolt in a bottle. This kid has legit 4.3 speed. He's just a blur. And what makes him really interesting is that he's a former running back, so he knows what to do with the ball in his hands. He's got great vision and creativity in the open field. You can already picture the offensive coordinator drawing up plays for him. Jet sweeps, bubble screens, get the ball in his hands and let him cook. But really, his ticket to making the roster is special teams. He could be their primary kick and punt returner from day 1. So while the pick was weird from a roster-building perspective, the player himself is undeniably a weapon.
And last but definitely not least, you cannot sleep on 7th-round pick Andre Fuller. This is a classic Seahawks 7th-rounder, a guy who fits their philosophy to a T. He's a converted safety, which means he plays with great instincts and he is not afraid to hit you. Now, his man coverage is a work in progress. That's why he was still there in the 7th round. But his strength is playing zone, reading the quarterback's eyes, and coming downhill to blow up plays in the run game. He's a perfect fit for a big nickel or dime linebacker role. Think 3rd and short situations where you need a guy who can cover a tight end but also hold his own against the run. He's a specialist, and in Mike McDonald's defense, specialists are like gold.
Okay, so we've looked at every angle. The big names, the late-round sleepers, the overall strategy, and the one head-scratcher. It is time to put it all together and give this thing a grade. Let's get to the final verdict, the official NFL Nexus report card for the Seattle Seahawks 2026 draft.
So when all is said and done, our final grade for the Seahawks 2026 draft class is a very, very solid B+. This wasn't a sexy draft, it wasn't full of splashy highlight reel picks that are going to lead SportsCenter. It was a grown-up draft. It was focused, it was mature, and it was strategic. They addressed their number 1 need right out of the gate with their running back. They found 2 guys in Clark and Neal who are perfect fits for their defense, and they might have found a 10-year starter on the offensive line in the 5th round. That one questionable receiver pick keeps it from being an A, but this was the draft of a confident, self-assured team that knows exactly who they are. They weren't looking for answers, they were just adding ammunition.
So they've added all these pieces, right? Tough guys, smart guys, guys who fit the system. They're not rebuilding, they are reloading. And that brings us to the big million-dollar question. Is this the draft class that helps turn a Super Bowl champion into a legitimate dynasty? They've definitely added the right kind of players, but now the real work starts. What do you think? Did the Seahawks do enough to make another run at the title? Drop your own grade for their draft class in the comments below. I promise I read every single one. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to NFL Nexus for more breakdowns just like this one. And as a little thank you for all your support, if you're looking for a fun way to relax, especially after a stressful Sunday, you can help support the channel by checking out our coloring books. They're perfect for kids, grandkids, or even for you. You can find the link right down in the description or just scan the QR code on your screen. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.